The arrival. Deep space detection. Commander Sarah Chen was halfway through her morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The Titan Deep Space Monitoring Station had been quiet for 3 months, tracking nothing more exciting than asteroid movements and solar wind patterns. Now every screen in the facility was flashing red, and the main display showed something that made Sarah's blood freeze. 50 massive objects had appeared at the edge of the solar system, each one the size of a small city. They were moving in perfect formation, slowing from near light speed with technology that shouldn't exist. Sarah's hand shook as she reached for the emergency communicator. Earth Command, this is Titan Station. We have a code black situation. 50 unknown vessels, massive scale, approaching from deep space. Request immediate backup and instructions. The response came within seconds. Titan Station. This is Admiral Lisa Rodriguez. Transmit all sensor data immediately. Do not attempt contact. Repeat, do not attempt contact. Sarah watched her screens as the alien ships continued their approach. Each vessel was over 2 kilometers long, covered in strange markings that seemed to shift and move. Their energy signatures were unlike anything in human databases, but there was something odd about the readings that Sarah couldn't quite identify. Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's chief science officer, burst into the command center carrying a tablet full of analysis data. Sarah, you need to see this. These ships are incredible, but there's something strange about their design. Strange how? Sarah asked, not taking her eyes off the main display. Their technology is definitely advanced, probably 1,000 years ahead of where we were 50 years ago, but it's also incredibly old. The energy patterns, the hull materials, the propulsion systems, they're all using designs that haven't changed in centuries, maybe millennia. Sarah frowned. You're saying they're using outdated technology. Not outdated for them, but stagnant. It's as if they reached a certain level of advancement and then just stopped innovating. Everything about these ships suggests a civilization that became comfortable with its dominance and never felt the need to keep improving. Before Sarah could respond, the communication array crackled to life. A deep alien voice filled the command center, speaking in a language that their computers immediately began translating. Primitive beings of the third world from the local star. I am Fleet Commander Vexoth of the Krillian Empire. Your solar system now belongs to us. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation, or we will reduce your worlds to ash. Sarah looked at Dr. Webb, who nodded grimly. She activated the response transmitter. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Corps. We've received your message, Commander Vexoth. We would prefer to discuss this situation through diplomatic channels. There was a long pause before the alien responded. When Vexoth spoke again, his voice carried what sounded like amusement. Diplomatic channels. You misunderstand your situation. Primitive. We have conquered over 200 worlds in the past 5,000 years. We do not negotiate with species barely capable of interplanetary travel. With respect, Commander, you might be surprised by our capabilities, Sarah replied calmly. We're not asking for much, just a chance to discuss terms that might benefit both our civilizations. This time, the pause was longer. When Vexoth responded, the amusement was gone. You refuse our generous offer of surrender. Very well. You have 72 of your hours to reconsider. After that, we will demonstrate why the Krillian Empire rules this section of the galaxy. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Sarah immediately contacted Earth Command again. Admiral Rodriguez, they've given us 72 hours before they attack. What are your orders? Stand by. Commander, we're implementing Protocol 7 immediately. You'll see some interesting developments over the next few hours. Hidden preparations. Unknown to the Krillians, their arrival had triggered the most sophisticated defense network in human history. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez sat in her command bunker 3 kilometers beneath the Colorado mountains, watching as systems that had been hidden for decades came online. Status report, she ordered. Major David Park looked up from his tactical display. All orbital platforms are active and ready. The aliens have no idea they're surrounded by over 200 weapons stations disguised as space debris and old satellites. What about the stealth fighters? Squadron leader Captain Elena Vasquez reports all 12 Phantom-class vessels ready for deployment. The quantum cloaking systems are functioning perfectly. Admiral Rodriguez smiled. The Phantom fighters were humanity's most closely guarded secret. Using technology based on quantum uncertainty principles, they could exist in multiple states simultaneously, making them nearly impossible to detect or target. Dr. Marcus Webb's voice came through the communication system from Titan Station. Admiral, I've completed my analysis of the alien fleet. You're going to find this interesting. Go ahead, Doctor. These Krillians are using technology that follows completely predictable patterns. Their shields operate on fixed frequencies, their weapons fire in predetermined sequences, and their formation flying follows mathematical models that haven't changed in centuries. It's as if they've become so successful that they've forgotten how to adapt. Rodriguez exchanged glances with Major Park. Doctor, are you saying we can predict their tactical responses? More than that. Admiral, I believe we can exploit their inflexibility. They're expecting us to fight like the other species they've conquered, but we don't follow their rules. Meanwhile, near Jupiter's largest moon, Captain Michael Torres was commanding a small reconnaissance mission aboard the stealth ship Ghost Runner. His orders were to get close to the alien fleet and gather detailed intelligence without being detected. Captain, we're within scanning range, reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Jessica Kim. Their ships are massive, but their sensor arrays are using very basic detection methods. It's like they've never had to worry about stealth technology before. Captain Torres studied the alien vessels through his ship's advanced imaging systems. The Krillian ships were impressive, covered in weapons and protected by energy shields that glowed with purple light. But there was something about their design that seemed almost ceremonial, as if they were built more for intimidation than actual combat. Lieutenant, can you detect any weaknesses in their formation? Yes, sir. They're flying in a standard wedge formation, probably effective against traditional fleet tactics. But they've left gaps in their sensor coverage that a smaller, faster ship could exploit. Torres made his decision. We're going to test their reflexes. Prepare for a quick strike on their outermost vessel, then immediate withdrawal. First blood. The Ghost Runner materialized from quantum cloak just long enough to fire a single experimental weapon at the nearest Krillian ship. The weapon, called a cascade disruptor, was designed to overload energy systems by creating feedback loops in the target's power grid. The effect was immediate and shocking. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed, its weapons went offline, and its propulsion systems began shutting down one by one. Warning lights flashed across the vessel's hull as its crew struggled to understand what had happened. Fleet Commander Vexoth's voice erupted across Krillian communication channels. What just happened? Report. Commander, the Talon's Fury has suffered complete system failure. Their shields are down, weapons offline, engines failing. We cannot locate the source of the attack. Vexoth stared at his tactical display in confusion. His sensors showed no enemy vessels in the area, no weapon signatures, nothing that could explain the sudden defeat of one of his ships. Scan the area again. Use deep space sensors. Still nothing, Commander. Whatever attacked us has vanished completely. This was impossible. In 5,000 years of conquest, the Krillian Empire had never encountered stealth technology advanced enough to completely fool their sensors. Every species they had faced used energy shields and plasma weapons that were easily detectable. Captain Torres was already several million kilometers away when he reported back to Admiral Rodriguez. Admiral, the Cascade Disruptor worked better than expected. We completely disabled their ship without causing permanent damage. More importantly, they have no idea how we did it or where we went. Excellent work, Captain. Return to base immediately. We have 72 hours to prepare for the main event. Back on Titan Station, Dr. Webb was analyzing the energy signatures from the brief engagement. What he discovered changed everything. Sarah, look at this. When their ship's systems failed, they tried to restart using the exact same power frequencies they were using before. They didn't try to adapt or modify their approach at all. Commander Chen studied the data. You're saying they can't learn from the attack? It's worse than that. I don't think they know how to learn from the attack. Their technology is so standardized, so rigid, that they probably haven't faced a situation requiring adaptation in centuries. Dr. Marcus Webb, who had first identified the Krillian fleet's weaknesses, was already working on upgrades to Earth's defense systems. Admiral, if word spreads about our capabilities, we're going to face more challenges. Other empires will want to test our strength. Let them come, Rodriguez replied confidently. Today we showed the galaxy that humanity doesn't just survive, we adapt, we innovate, and we win. Any empire foolish enough to threaten Earth will learn the same lesson the Krillians just learned. The battle was over, but its consequences would reshape the balance of power across the galaxy. Humanity had emerged from obscurity to become a force that even ancient empires would think twice about challenging. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Epilogue. 6 months later, the wreckage of the Krillian fleet had been converted into Earth's newest research stations. Human scientists worked alongside former enemies, studying alien technology and sharing innovations that benefited both species. Fleet Commander Vexuth, now a prisoner-turned-advisor, stood in Admiral Rodriguez's office looking out at the bustling space traffic around Mars. "I still don't understand," he said quietly. "How did your species advance so quickly? The Krillians have had spaceflight for 10,000 years. Rodriguez joined him at the window. "That's exactly the problem. Commander, you stopped growing. You became so comfortable with your superiority that you forgot how to improve. Humans never have that luxury. We're always facing new challenges, always adapting, always pushing forward." She gestured to the busy space lanes where human and alien ships worked together. "You see threats where we see opportunities. You see conquest where we see cooperation. That's why you lost, and that's why humanity will keep growing stronger." Vexuth nodded slowly, finally beginning to understand. The humans hadn't defeated the Krillian Empire through superior firepower, they had won through superior adaptability. In a universe where most species eventually stagnated, humanity remained eternally curious, eternally innovative, and eternally dangerous to anyone who underestimated them. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never assume that the quiet species in the corner isn't paying attention. Sometimes they're just waiting for the right moment to show everyone what they're really capable of. As the Krillian fleet reached Mars orbit, Vexuth gave the order to begin bombardment. "All ships, target the human installations. Show these primitives the price of defying the Empire." Massive energy beams lanced out from the alien warships, striking what appeared to be defenseless mining stations and cargo depots. Explosions bloomed in space as the targets were destroyed, but Vexuth frowned as he watched the tactical display. "Something is wrong," he said to his tactical officer. "Those explosions look fake. Scan those installations again." Before the tactical officer could respond, space around the Krillian fleet suddenly came alive with weapons fire. Hidden platforms that had appeared to be space debris revealed themselves, emerging from stealth fields that had concealed them for decades. Hundreds of advanced energy weapons opened fire simultaneously, their beams converging on the alien ships from every direction. "Shields holding," reported the defensive systems officer, but his voice was strained. "Commander, these weapons are more powerful than our intelligence indicated. They're using some kind of adaptive targeting system that adjusts its frequency in real time." Vexuth stared in shock as his sensors revealed the truth. The humans hadn't scattered a few dozen ships throughout the region. They had positioned over 200 weapons platforms in a perfect sphere around his fleet's approach route. Every piece of space junk in the area was actually a disguised military installation. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our scouts reported no significant military presence in this system. Commander, incoming fighters. the tactical officer announced, small craft approaching at high speed. On his display, Vexoth could see 12 tiny ships racing toward his fleet. He almost laughed. They were so small that a single shot from his main guns would vaporize them completely. Destroy those fighters immediately. His weapons officers opened fire, sending massive energy blasts toward the approaching human ships. But something impossible happened. The weapons passed right through the fighters without causing any damage at all. Captain Elena Vasquez was piloting the lead Phantom fighter, her ship existing in a state of quantum uncertainty that made it nearly impossible to hit. Phantom Squadron, begin attack run. Remember, target their engine systems first, then weapons arrays. The 12 fighters phase shifted through the alien formation like ghosts, appearing just long enough to fire their weapons before vanishing back into quantum uncertainty. Each fighter carried weapons specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses Dr. Webb had identified in Krillian technology. Vexoth watched in growing horror as his ships began losing power one by one. The human fighters were somehow bypassing his shields entirely, striking his vessels with weapons that seemed to ignore the normal laws of physics. "Report," he shouted. "Commander, the enemy fighters are using some kind of dimensional shifting technology. Our weapons cannot lock onto targets that exist in multiple states simultaneously. Meanwhile, their weapons are specifically calibrated to disrupt our power systems." System cascade failure. In her command bunker, Admiral Rodriguez decided it was time to end the battle decisively. "Dr. Mitchell, activate the quantum cascade grid." Sarah Mitchell's fingers flew over her control panel, initializing the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created. Throughout the solar system, hidden generators that had been positioned over the past 50 years came online simultaneously, creating a quantum field that encompassed the entire Krillian fleet. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every alien ship experienced total system failure simultaneously as the quantum cascade disrupted the subatomic structure of their technology. Shields collapsed, weapons went offline, engines died, and life support systems began failing throughout the fleet. But the humans weren't finished. Major Park activated the Computer Warfare Division's Special Surprise, a collection of adaptive viruses specifically designed to infiltrate and corrupt Krillian computer systems. "Virus deployment successful," reported the cyber warfare officer. "Enemy computer networks are experiencing cascading failures. Their navigation systems are down, communications are disrupted, and their artificial intelligence cores are crashing." Vexoth found himself standing on a bridge where nothing worked. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as his crew struggled desperately to restore power to critical systems. Through the viewports, he could see his entire fleet drifting helplessly in space, every ship dark and powerless. "Status report," he called out, his voice echoing in the powerless command center. "Commander, we have total system failure across all ship functions. Whatever the humans did, it disrupted our technology at the molecular level. Our engineers estimate it will take days to restore basic power, assuming we can figure out how to counter their weapon." For the first time in his long military career, Fleet Commander Vexoth felt genuine fear. The humans had demonstrated technology that seemed impossible, weapons that operated outside the known laws of physics, and tactical capabilities that suggested a level of advancement far beyond what their intelligence had indicated. The message. Admiral Rodriguez opened a communication channel to the crippled Krillian fleet. Her image appeared on the few emergency screens still functioning aboard the alien ships. "Fleet Commander Vexoth, this is Admiral Rodriguez of the Human Defense Corps. As you can see, your invasion has not proceeded as planned." Vexoth managed to restore power to his communication system long enough to respond. "How? Your species should not possess such advanced technology. You are barely capable of interplanetary travel." Rodriguez smiled. "Commander, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. What you've encountered today is not humanity's military, it's our local security force. The Mars defense grid is designed to protect our inner solar system from minor threats." The alien commander's 4 eyes widened in shock. Local security? You mean this was not your primary military force? Far from it. Our actual military operates from bases you haven't even detected yet, using technology that makes what you've seen today look like children's toys. You've been fighting the equivalent of a planetary police force. Rodriguez paused, letting this information sink in. However, we're not unreasonable. We're going to allow one of your ships to restore power and return to your empire with a message. Within an hour, the Krillians had managed to restore basic functions to their smallest scout ship. As it prepared to depart, Rodriguez transmitted one final message. Tell your empire what you learned here today. Humanity is not interested in conquest or expansion, but we will defend ourselves against any threat. Your fleet came here expecting to face primitives armed with basic weapons. Instead, you encountered technology that your empire hasn't seen before and hopefully never will again. The scout ship limped away from the solar system, carrying news that would shake the foundations of the Krillian Empire. Behind it, 49 massive warships drifted in space, their crews rescued by human vessels, and their technology confiscated for study. Galactic implications. Within weeks, news of the Krillian fleet's annihilation spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of the Empire for thousands of years suddenly began to hope. If humanity could defeat the Krillians so decisively, perhaps the age of imperial dominance was coming to an end. In the Krillian capital, Supreme Emperor Thylex received Fleet Commander Vexoth's report with growing alarm. The humans possessed quantum manipulation technology, dimensional phase weapons, adaptive artificial intelligence, and defensive systems that could make an entire fleet disappear. How many ships do they have? The Emperor asked. Unknown, my lord. They claimed that what we faced was merely local security. If that's true, their actual military might be hundreds of times larger than what we encountered. The Emperor considered this information carefully. In 5,000 years, the Krillian Empire had never faced a species capable of matching their technology, let alone surpassing it. The humans represented something entirely new, a young species that had focused on innovation rather than stagnation, adaptation rather than rigid tradition. Send word to all fleet commanders, the Emperor ordered. Human space is to be considered off-limits until further notice. We need time to understand what we're dealing with. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Rodriguez was meeting with the Global Defense Council to discuss the long-term implications of their victory. Ma'am, we're receiving communication requests from over 30 different alien civilizations, reported her communications officer. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Rodriguez nodded. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. They had gone from unknown primitives to feared superpower in a single battle. This information was immediately transmitted to Earth Command, where Admiral Rodriguez was finalizing her battle plans. The Krillians were powerful, but they were also predictable. They had become so accustomed to winning through superior firepower that they had forgotten the art of tactical flexibility. The countdown begins. As the 72-hour deadline approached, the Krillian fleet began moving deeper into the solar system. They maintained their perfect formation, their weapons charged, their shields at maximum power. Fleet Commander Vexoth was confident that whatever primitive trick the humans had used would not work against his full fleet. Status report. Vexoth commanded. All ships ready for battle, Commander. We've increased sensor sensitivity and prepared countermeasures for stealth attacks. Excellent. These humans will learn why the Krillian Empire is feared across the galaxy. What Vexoth didn't know was that every move his fleet made was being tracked by hundreds of hidden sensors throughout the solar system. Admiral Rodriguez watched the alien ships approach with growing confidence. Her defense network was fully activated, her stealth fighters were in position, and her secret weapons were ready to demonstrate what happened when an ancient empire encountered modern human ingenuity. All stations, this is Admiral Rodriguez. The enemy fleet is approaching Mars orbit. Operation Surprise Party will commence in 6 hours. Remember, we want to send a message that will be heard across the galaxy. Make it count. The stage was set for a battle that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Krillians were expecting to face primitive humans using basic technology. Instead, they were about to encounter the most adaptable, creative, and dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. The 72 hours were almost up, and humanity was ready to show the universe what happened when you underestimated the people of Earth. The annihilation. The final approach. Fleet Commander Vexoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, watching the red planet Mars grow larger on his display screens. Behind him, 49 other massive Krillian warships maintained perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the purple glow of charged weapon systems. "Commander, we are approaching the fourth planet from their star," reported his tactical officer. "Our sensors detect minimal human activity. A few orbital stations, some mining operations, nothing that poses a threat to our fleet." Vexoth nodded with satisfaction. The humans had used up their 72 hours, and now they would face the consequences of refusing the Empire's generous offer of surrender. What about their military vessels? "We detect approximately 30 ships scattered throughout this region of space. They appear to be older cargo vessels and small patrol craft. Nothing larger than our smallest escort ships." "Pathetic," Vexoth muttered. "These primitives actually believe they can resist the might of the Krillian Empire with mining ships and cargo haulers." What Vexoth couldn't see was that every one of those cargo ships was actually a heavily armed warship using advanced holographic camouflage. The mining operations around Mars were weapons platforms that had been disguised for over 20 years, and the orbital stations were command centers coordinating the most sophisticated military trap in human history. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez sat in her underground command bunker, watching the alien fleet's approach through hundreds of hidden cameras positioned throughout the solar system. Around her, dozens of officers monitored displays showing the true state of Earth's defenses. "Admiral, all systems are green," reported Major David Park. 200 orbital weapons platforms are online and ready. Phantom Squadron is in position. The asteroid belt network is prepared for activation. "What about our special surprise?" Rodriguez asked. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, head of the Advanced Weapons Division, smiled grimly. "The quantum cascade grid is fully charged, Admiral. When we activate it, every alien ship in the network will experience simultaneous system failures across multiple dimensions of spacetime." Rodriguez nodded. The quantum cascade was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a weapon that could disrupt matter at the subatomic level. It had taken 30 years to develop and had never been tested on anything larger than a single ship. "The trap springs,"